Well, another sunny Monday at City National Arena. This is nighttime at noon, and while the vast majority of the VGK broadcast stable is courageously braving the elements of Manitoba in the middle of December, they leave Deryk Engelland and myself, Brian McCormack, behind to run K-Tan. So great to have you with us. A lot of exciting things to discuss coming this week. A good week for Vegas hockey in general. The Golden Knights start a 2-game road swing that takes them to Winnipeg. HSK have a string of home games, and the Rivalry Series with the U.S. and Canadian women's teams comes to the Dollar Loan Center on Thursday. We're going to discuss it all. Deryk, that's a pretty packed week, I think.
Yeah, it's an extremely packed week. I'm looking forward to seeing the Rivalry Week and the couple of VGK games. It's it seems like the holidays should be slowing down, but it seems like every weekend there's something more and more this here in Vegas.
And we're going to dive right into it right off the hop because we have head coach John Wrobleski of the U.S. women's national team who will be at the Dollar Loan Center to take on Canada on Thursday in the latest installment of the Rivalry Series. And Coach Wrobleski, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you on.
Hey, thanks, Brian. You guys hearing me all right?
We hear you just fine, John, and we appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure it's a busy week for you guys as well. First off, this will be the fourth of 5 games in this Rivalry Series, the fourth installment, and so far you guys are having a pretty good time in this Rivalry Series. You're 3-0 against Canada. What's been going so well in the course of this matchup so far?
Well, yeah, we got off to a fast start up there in the Pacific Northwest, and the crowds were unbelievable. The 2 games in Canada at Kelowna and Kamloops were both sold out, and then the game in Seattle had nearly 15,000 people. So, it was the experience was tremendous, and the pace is fast. And we made a few adjustments with Canada after watching the World Championships, and made some plays and some thought processes to probably open the game up a little bit more on our terms, and it does fit into to an exciting style and brand of hockey that formulates well with what we have as a skilled group.
And, John, it's not surprising that fans are responding so well to this. You guys have played in Kelowna and Kamloops on the Canadian side of the border, and then Seattle at Climate Pledge Arena, as you mentioned. There'll be one more game after the game this week in Henderson and Los Angeles. But these are, without question, the 2 greatest women's hockey teams in the world going head-to-head. And usually we have to gather around our TV sets for World Championships and for Olympic gold medal games. But this is an opportunity, multiple opportunities for fans in the Northwest to have a chance to see these players up close and in person. And it's not surprising the response has been so strong.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up the rivalry and how heated it gets, and it's tough to describe. From coming over from the men's side of the game and then stepping into this realm, and then on the men's side, and I'm going to try to be as careful with my words as you possibly can. But a lot of times on the men's side, you'll see a lot of the players, and not that there isn't a ton of familiarity with the females, there is. The men's side, there's a more you see some of the buddies you grew up with, and you're quick to get over there and say hello, and a lot of laughing and things like that. On the women's side, the rivalry is extremely fierce, and while there's a tremendous amount of respect from both sides, the desire to win and the desire to compete against our friends from the north is something that I haven't seen before in sports. And it's really interesting to get on the bench and see and witness some of the snarling and as I mentioned before, the passion to win and to compete against in these games. And what it does is it creates an environment, and because we don't play the 82 game schedule where coaches can stand behind and analyze every single night and give feedback, pulling the strings, as it were. The players are a little bit more free to play and play with that open feeling, that instinctual feeling to go out and we talk about it as playing more with principles than the plan, and to stick to your principles as to what you do well and what we do well, and not worrying as much about the grand scheme of each component to the neutral zone pass and the neutral zone defense. Those things will take care of themselves with passionate play and sticking to the principles that we want to adhere to.
John, Deryk Engelland here. Off to a 3-0 start, like you said. What do you expect out of Canada? Changes, that type of thing, moving forward here. Being down 3-0, they got to tweak some things to try to answer the bell against you guys.
Yeah, well, Deryk, first off, it's interesting, and I want to congratulate you on an amazing career. I don't know if you remember, but you and I used to play against each other in the old ECHL when the Wranglers were in the league and Fresno was in the league. And I remember you coming up, and we actually were rookies at the same time, 03, 04, and then 04, 05. I think you were in Vegas too during the lockout year, and I just remember some of those days and some of the teammates that you had with like Adam Huxley and John Shockey and some of the Wild West characters that you just have to encounter, like John Morassi or Grattan or Billy Tibbetts. I don't know. It's been a long time, but it's good. I want to congratulate you on that career. And then, it was really neat to watch it from afar. But back to your question about what Canada's going to do. I'm interested, but not overly consumed. That has to be the mindset. I've learned in this life of trying to expect what other people do is going to lead to a lot of disappointments in your life and a lot of problems that aren't even there yet. So, I do expect a response from Canada and what that will be. We're evolving too, but I know it's so cliche and it's not the answer you want, but we're trying to enhance what we do really well and sort of mitigate what we're not proficient in right now, and just trying to match those two ideals. And I can't emphasize this enough as we get to inject 9 new players into our arsenal coming out of this. We had some players that weren't available, NCAA ladies that had commitments with their universities. So just getting them up to speed as to the adjustments that we made from August at the World Championships in Denmark until the Seattle Rivalry Series, and just getting everybody reconnected. And it's a great feeling and awesome. It's a great breeding ground to match up with your team concepts and trying to get your really just group leading and group orientation.
We're talking to John Wrobleski, head coach of the U.S. women's national team, ahead of this Thursday's Rivalry Series game at the Dollar Loan Center. Tickets on sale now. John, to call back to what you mentioned in one of your previous answers, you talked about the intensity, the enthusiasm of the participants in these Rivalry Series games. Again, there's no gold medal on the line here, and yet these two national teams going head-to-head with a lot of ferocity. I think it's important for the fans to realize as well that while this is the 4th game of a 5-game series, installments as you guys have gone from city to city, this is not a media tour in the sense of it's, a couple of friendly exhibition games and, you'll see a couple of big names. Looking at these box scores, these are loaded rosters that we're seeing from past Olympics and national teams. These are two teams that are coming with their best.
Yeah, neither team had exactly what they wanted roster-wise in November, and while I was quite proud of the way that our young ladies exhibited, and demonstrated what they can do, I don't want to call them fill-in players, but the players that weren't apt initially, we are, there is an air in the air here, an air of expectation to what we can have with the potential that we wanted to bring to the first event. And so, it'll be interesting. Canada adds a couple pieces to their lineup. We had 9. So it's an interesting. It'll be an interesting makeup. Can we capture the desperation? It says a lot about the human spirit too. I thought about the ladies that had that chance, how desperate they played. And Deryk can attest to this, is what you get from a call-up player, just how given that opportunity, the adrenaline that they can play with for a couple of games in a row, and what they can do. We saw that live, and so what we're trying to do is capture that same amount of desperation with players that maybe have been here before. Can we sort of blend that experience with the aforementioned?
John, looking at your coaching resume as a whole, you spent a lot of time in the behind the bench in the ECHL, the AHL, most recently with Ontario, the U.S. National Development Program. You have a very developmentally geared coaching career. It's something you've done very well for a very long time. What is this job like, working with the U.S. women's national team, where, of course, there's still some development, players looking to get better? You mentioned some NCAA players that are involved as well, but perhaps less raw materials than you have in other teams that you've worked with.
Very keen assessment, I'd have to say there, Brian. And because the segue will will be relatable here is that there's more to it than just coaching the national team, and what we are trying to do, without tipping too much information to our friends to the north. But I believe in every team that I'll work with, as long as I'm allowed to have, that sort of autonomy to work under the pretense that within the configurations, is that it will be skill oriented and it will be development oriented. And my goal for each and every player for the time that I start working with them at the beginning of a season, or whether it's these short little rivalry series, which actually work quite well with their sample size, is to be a better teammate and a better player than you were in the 2 weeks, that we have together, whatever duration that is. And so what we do is we work with the individual as much as we work on the macro, the team. We're trying to make each player, we work on the micro side. You make each player as good as they can possibly be within the configuration of the team dynamic and what you believe is the team values the most systematically, as well as culturally. And then you work with each player. I mean, each one is so important. You don't know, even if a player plays 8 minutes, I try to relate to a player that, you don't know that which 30 seconds of the game is going to be the most important, which 30 seconds a penalty is drawn, somebody shoots one over the glass, so that a key stick detail or shot block, they're all important. And that's the wonderful thing about hockey, is that it's that continuous 60-minute game, and you never feel comfortable. Maybe sometimes players feel comfortable as the adrenaline wears in because they're in control, but as a coach, you rarely feel comfortable behind the bench.
We're with John Wrobleski, head coach of the U.S. women's national team. The U.S. and Canada will play at the Dollar Loan Center this Thursday night. John, I'm curious. We've talked so much about the on-ice expectations for both teams and for the fans, and of course that is the most significant. But at the same time, as you guys make this travel throughout the Northwest, there's a lot of opportunity for people to see the women's game for the first time. Of course, there's young female fans who maybe have never had a chance to see the game in person. Aside from the on-ice results, how important is this rivalry series for the growth of the game and the growth of the women's game in the U.S.?
Another great question, and one that sort of, I thought this opportunity for the best on best is such a unique one, as far as being able to have the rosters all lined up. And I think it's key for the young women, and look at the sample size and the fan base, and to get young girls interested in playing the game, and to have the aspirations to be able to play in arenas that have 15,000 people in it. It's something that I always respected on the men's side, but wasn't fully committed to or able to appreciate. And now that that script has luckily and joyously flipped in my life, and I've been able to be a part of this side of it. And I have a young niece who that's as far as I need to go to look at how important it is for young women and just the growth of the game. You should see, like, when I'm on the phone with her, she's asking them all the time, when can she come and see the team play, asking her parents, and she talks about the players. And these are conversations that I never got to have with young Nora before. And now we have, that connective tissue, but also I think that the broader scope is that, the bigger picture of the game in general, what it does. And that's just a micro of an example of what that does for the game. And I'm sure it's happening, thousands of times over each city we come into, is that you get a young girl who's just, starstruck with and you never know what that young girl is going to do with her life, with the opportunity to play hockey, because it is such an amazing sport, and a team component that you can't find in any other realm. I've tried to find it in other sports and talking to different coaches, and you can't blend the dedication, the sacrifice, the toughness, the finesse, the athleticism, all of those things coming together at one time. And hockey is just beautiful. So, I can't wait to see where these rivalry series and the dividends that it pays for the game in the long run, where it ends up.
Well, it's going to be a tremendous week, John, and we're very excited for it. One more before we let you go. Just the team is getting into town. You're not coming in Thursday at 7 p.m. as puck drop, but you're getting into town well before then. There's going to be, I think, some practices at Lifeguard Arena that I believe the public can attend. How are you guys going to spend the next few days in Vegas getting ready for the big night?
Yeah, it's awesome. I really appreciate these these opportunities. So like we just hunker in. I'm in the conference room right now with the, a 20 by 10 projector up against the wall, and you hunker in and you work with the players all week. We don't see much of the lights and the shows and things like that. The players have some free time to see that stuff, but it really is a hockey clinic that we try to put on here. And, we practice every day. And they are open to the public, and Seattle had a tremendous attendance at our practices. So we're hoping to see some people come out and check out our practices, and they are very fun. The practices are up tempo. We don't do a lot of instruction at practice. We try to do most of our system maintenance on video, and we try to have the practices really emulate and duplicate what we do, the scoring chance opportunities that we have, and we just kind of rep those types of things out, get us up and down the ice. And you know what? As I mentioned, we want to put our best foot forward in the games and the competition, but I do look at these opportunities, these rivalry series as a development opportunity for our players and as a team. So we put that as the highest priority, and we feel like the competition and the results of the game will take care of themselves.
Well, the U.S. women's national team taking over Vegas until Thursday night, 7 p.m. puck drop against the Canadian women's national team in the Rivalry Series. Head coach John Wrobleski, really appreciate you coming on to help us promote this, and we look forward to watching this week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I really appreciate it, Brian. Best of luck, Deryk, and we'll see you guys down the road.
Thanks a lot, John.
That is head coach John Wrobleski of the U.S. women's national team. We've been talking about this for a while. We had Megan Bozak in last month to talk about it a bit as well. And, when you listen to John Wrobleski talk about it, you can hear the enthusiasm in his voice, too, just how excited they are for this project to grow the game. But also, this is, you say it's not in the standings, but 2 points on the line. This means a lot to both of these teams, as they, every time they meet, whether it's in the World Championships, the Olympics, or elsewhere, every time they meet, they know it's best on best, and you can hear that fire.
Yeah, it's tremendous to watch, as a hockey player, and going to the Olympics, the World Cup, anything like that. They're fun games to watch. They are intense. It's a big rivalry, and neither team is going to budge an inch for the other. So it's a lot of fun to watch. It's great for the women's hockey in general all over. It's growing here in Vegas. You see it. So it's going to be fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to this one.
And it is upon us as we head to break. We'll remind you that the Rivalry Series comes to the Dollar Loan Center this Thursday, a 7 o'clock puck drop as the U.S. and Canadian women's national teams battle it out. And you can visit thedollarloancenter.com to get your tickets, thedollarloancenter.com, and get your tickets. And then, as mentioned again, throughout the week, the teams will be practicing at Lifeguard Arena. So more than one opportunity to see the best women players in the world up close and in person. We will step out, but when we come back, we'll talk, we'll flip to the VGK. There's a lot to talk about. Recap some of the recent contests and talk about the upcoming games in Winnipeg and Chicago and when the Islanders come to Vegas. It's straight ahead on Nighttime at noon. Deryk Engelland, Brian McCormack here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Nighttime at Noon continues. Golden Knights fans, the Foley Food and Wine Society was created to celebrate 3 of Bill and Carol Foley's greatest passions: world-class wines, exceptional cuisine, and magnificent travel destinations. Members of the society will have access to an entire portfolio of properties around the world and have the exclusive opportunity to join like-minded individuals who seek to experience the finer things in life. Join for free today by visiting FoleyFoodAndWineSociety.com, FoleyFoodAndWineSociety.com. Big thank you to U.S. Women's National Team head coach John Wrobleski, who joined us in the last segment. By the way, Deryk Engelland, Brian McCormack here with you, and you can follow along not just here on Fox Sports Las Vegas, but also simulcasting on all of the VGK digital channels. If you'd like to see our beautiful faces, that's up to you. But lots to cover for the VGK as they head into this trip to Winnipeg and to Chicago. And before we do that, a little bit of breaking news that we can get to, which is that the Golden Knights have announced a number of, well, I should say maybe one transaction that impacts 3 different players. The from the Silver Knights, the Golden Knights have recalled forward Jonas Rondbjerg and defenseman Braden Pahal and Caden Korzak. So Rondbjerg, Pahal, and Korzak all go up to the VGK. Pretty easy for the VGK to do that since the Silver Knights got back from their road trip yesterday. So hop from one side of town to the other, hop on the plane, and hop to Winnipeg. So transaction there, and I guess that kind of can lead us, Deryk, to what has been a bit of a storyline for the VGK of late, which is that they've been pretty, well, compared to last year, they've been better both injury-wise than they have been, but a little dinged up of late. And the Golden Knights have been without Jack Eichel, without Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo for personal reasons, Brett Howden, and Zach Whitecloud banged up in last night's game and questionable going forward, and now we see the 3 call-ups. So there's been a lot of roster rearranging for Bruce Cassidy of late. Yeah,
I think the beginning of the year it was, they had lots of rest, not playing a lot. Just a steady schedule, and around that Thanksgiving, I think they played 5 and 8 nights, and it's a wear and tear on the body, and unfortunately, it's a pretty significant list on this team. You 1 goal last night, but you're missing Eichel, Theodore, Pietrangelo. Those are 3 high point guys on a nightly basis, so that's a lot of points to make up for, missing those guys, and then you can't, with Howden out, that grind, speed and stuff, and missing Whitecloud, that's another dagger. He kills a lot of penalties, blocks a lot of shots, and just hopefully they get back sooner than later.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on some confirmation on what Whitecloud's situation is going to be, but obviously this transaction, the call-ups, does speak to that a little bit. But I think it's interesting when you look at Jack Eichel being out a bit is certainly going to be your headline-grabbing name for sure, and Alex Pietrangelo for his personal reasons. But where you look at where the glut is, and there's the call-up of Braden Pahal, the call-up of Caden Korzak, and Neil Maramonov's already up there. There's a lot of youth and a lot of HSK talent pool dependence for Bruce Cassidy right now on the blue line specifically.
Yeah, it's it's a great, all those guys deserve a shot up, and they've been playing well last year into this year, and it's a good thing to have. Unfortunately, you have three D-men out, and I don't know what Whitecloud's is, but to have those guys be able to come up, and I think not be nervous to throw them in the lineup, and what you're going to get out of those 3 guys. So Miramonov's been playing really good for them so far, and these other 2 coming up, it's almost like John was talking about that, that call-up, that adrenaline. They're going to play off that adrenaline for at least the first few games, and you know what you're going to get. You can. It's a little harder to shelter or that on the road, but they can build off that adrenaline each night.
Well, Bruce Cassidy spoke on this a little bit as well, again, as the team gets ready to go play a Winnipeg team that's at the top of the Central right now. Bruce Cassidy spoke about the HSK call-ups. Here's what he had to say.
Well, we'll see. We'll find out on the back end. If Whitey can't go, then it's Pahal's down there, has played well, Korzak. So Miramonov's come up and given us some good minutes. He's still, I'll look at the 3rd goal, right? He understands it's a man's league, right? Down low, you got to be able to separate people with a big body. So he's learning part of that. And those other guys, I assume, will go through that too. Paul Cotter, Lasician, we've got some younger guys, Tomer even in net. So we've got some young guys in the lineup that are helping us win. So we have to live with their growing pains, so to speak, the ones that are a little bit new to it. It's our job to coach them up. So what's our comfort level? I don't know. Haven't seen them play since they left training camp. we'll get them in and get them ready and hopefully put them in a good position to succeed. When you're that young on the back end, well, the compensation has to come from the forward group that's an older group, and they have to play
30.
Your D in different ways, puck support, managing it so they're not always defending, helping in D-zone coverage, scoring some goals to make up for the mistakes so the guys can relax. So that's a little bit what's in front of us right now. So I don't know if I answered your question, but listen, the next guy has to go in. He's got to be ready. It's an opportunity. That's how guys forge careers for themselves sometimes, taking the extra minutes, the guys that are already here, and then the guys that aren't, that come up, that can establish themselves and push for a regular job.
And as Bruce Cassidy is talking about the importance of these players coming in and the players who are already in the VGK lineup to make sure that not too much of the burden lands on their shoulders to get right into the mix, this is where it's important. And we talk so much about systems at the start of the year when Bruce Cassidy and his staff joined, in the defensive zone system especially, that they wanted to implement. There's a reason why the Silver Knights play the exact same system. It's so that players can, as seamlessly as possible, move from one to the other in cases like this.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier. If you're going up and down and you're playing two different systems, it's tough. It's not tough. You got to deal with it. But if they're playing the same systems, it's easier transition. And like Bruce said, you're going to lean on your veteran guys on forward and on D to help the guys coming up and make it easier. And that's maybe simplifying the game a little bit. The communication is huge. Even late in my career, I played with Mark Giordano, and he's yapping at you the entire game, and it makes it so much easier to play the game. Even as a veteran guy, he's letting you know where guys are, where to put the puck, and it's just a huge bonus. So the more you guys can talk to these young guys and make them feel comfortable, the better you're going to get out of them.
Well, luckily for us, there are a few people better situated to tell us about how these young players, these prospects, are developing and are suited to jump into a situation like this than the Director of Player Development, Mr. Will Nickel, and we're going to have him on the program after this break. So we will step aside, and when we come back, we will have Will Nickel, Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights, to bring us up to speed on not just the HSK personnel, but also the draft picks developing elsewhere around the globe. That's straight ahead on Nighttime at Noon. Brian McCormack and Deryk Engelland here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hey, Golden Knights fans, if you can't get enough hockey, come check out the Henderson Silver Knights of the American Hockey League. Playing at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson, single game, group, and mini suite tickets for home games starting the 2022-23 season are on sale right now. Contact the Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team at 702-645-4259, 702-645-4259, or visit hendersonsilverknights.com. Golden Knights heading out on the road to Winnipeg and bringing some HSK personnel with them, as we announced in the last segment. Jonas Rondbjerg, Caden Korzak, Braden Paul all called up to the VGK. And what better time than now to bring on an expert in the Silver Knights and all VGK prospect development is the Director of Player Development, Mr. Will Nickel, and he joins us now. Will, it's great to have you on.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Will. We appreciate it. And I think anytime I speak to you, the first thing I want to ask is, aside from where are you now, just what has your recent workload been like? Because, as we know, you're traveling around the continent all the time.
Yeah, where's Waldo, right? I'm currently in Moncton. Let's see. I don't even know where to start, Brian, to be honest with you. I was in Everett last Tuesday, Chilliwack Wednesday, flew home Thursday. My father-in-law had a retirement party Friday I just didn't want to miss. So I was there Friday, and then I was Barrie, Ontario Saturday, Moncton yesterday, today. And I head to Seattle tomorrow, and then I'll see you Wednesday in Henderson. Be in Henderson for the weekend. So,
well, I'll make sure everything's arranged then. I'll get on it. But as
there you go.
As you mentioned, coming to Henderson, because, of course, you check on the prospects with their junior teams and their college organizations, wherever they may be. You also, of course, are with the Silver Knights regularly checking on those prospects as well. We just mentioned that Jonas Rondbjerg, Caden Korzak, Braden Pahal called up to the VGK for this road trip. Now, we saw a good amount of Jonas Rondbjerg with the VGK last season. He and Jake Lecision played pretty big roles for the VGK as they battled their injuries last season. But this time around, Rondbjerg goes up. We've not seen as much NHL time for Braden Paul and Caden Korzak. Where have they been trending with the HSK so far this season?
Well, the times that I've seen them, I'm not there day to day, as you know,
sure.
Like Tim Speltz and the coaching staff. So I don't get to see them every day, but the times that I've seen them, Pickle, Braden Pahal, I never really disappointed when I watch him play. He's just, he always empties the tank. He knows exactly what he is, and he plays to it. And it's something that you have to really try to get across to young prospects. A lot of young prospects, it's not just about points. It's not just about the flash and things like that. It's really about knowing what your identity is and playing to it. I call it, your script for success. And Pickle has always known what he is, and he plays to his strengths. He's a great leader, and he's not a real vocal one. He just leads by example. So I'm really happy for him. Corsi, when Corsi's playing his best game, he's such a good skater, and he's using his feet. Not just with the puck, but he's using his feet to shorten the rink, and he's got good gaps because he's a tall kid and he plays long, right, with good stick on puck, and he can pass the puck so well. So when he's dialed in, he's letting the puck work for him. He's moving it when he can, not when he has to. And he when he's playing his best hockey, he brings a physical presence. He seals plays off. Coach Cassie calls, the kill zones and the D zone coverage, and Corsi's dialed in and doing that. That's when he's playing his best hockey for sure. Jonas Rondbjerg, he just, what a super kid. He can skate. He's got really good hockey sense. I would say almost sneaky. I think people don't understand, that this kid's got some skill. He's got some hockey sense. He's not just a checker. But in saying that, he's got such great details to his game. He's just so good. You can play him on the penalty kill. You can play him in defensive situations, but he's got some offense to him as well, which we've seen, right? Which we've seen. So happy for all three of the kids.
With Will Nickel, the Director of Player Development, shifting to the younger end of the pipeline, a player that just signed his entry-level contract was Jacob Brabanich, pardon me. I've heard about 6 different pronunciations of that name.
One. I've heard it pronounced 3 different ways, and I always ask him. And then he also likes to be called Jacob, but in Europe it's Jakub. So there's a lot of different ways to say it.
I think I've heard it 3 different times from him, so he's keeping me honest, and I appreciate that. But just signed his entry-level contract, and looking at this year, when we talked about him after his draft, which was after the COVID-shortened season, where a lot of question marks up in the air. He was taken in the 4th round, and you guys thought it might have been a steal then. He's gone on to have a great season last year, and now he's near a point per game again in Charlottetown with the Islanders, and that's with former teammates Patrick Gay and Lucas Cormier having moved on to the pro ranks. Without them, he's still putting up great numbers. A really strong start to the season for him.
Yeah, he's had an excellent year. There's no doubt about it. They don't have the team that they had last year. They had one of the best teams in the Quebec League. They very well could have gone to the Memorial Cup. They went very deep in the playoffs. This year, they're just not as strong. They've got a lot younger group, which happens, right? That happens at the junior level a lot. There's that cycle. But, he's really embraced that role. He's actually talked to me about it a lot. Like, there's a good chance he's going to get traded in the Quebec League, right? The second half of the year. That's just how it goes with a young team who has such a good older player like Jacob. But he's talked to me openly about how he's okay if he doesn't get traded. He likes taking this leadership role on. He knows that he needs to set the example for the younger players. And that's something that he hasn't had to do yet, and he knows that that's part of his development. So he's actually really enjoyed that part of it. He's another one that just has his coach told me, and I think he's got one of the better coaches in all of the CHL. His coach told me there's not a more complete player in the queue than Jacob, and it's hard for me to argue with that. He's got such good detail to his game. He'll remind people probably a lot of Wild Bill of Carly, how he is just so good with his details and can skate, and he can make plays as well. So really happy for Jacob. Like, those are always the fun days for me, Brian, as you know. Those are the treasuring moments, right? When kids sign their contract, when kids get called up, like Corsi and Pickle and Jonas got today. Those are the fun moments for me.
Hey, Will, Deryk Engelland here. How's things going up there in Moncton?
Hey, the legend. How you doing, buddy?
I don't know about that, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. Have you had to buy a dinner yet in Vegas, or you still go out and people buy you dinner?
Oh no, I buy all my dinners. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All right.
He doesn't buy drinks. He buys dinner though.
I buy dinner. Yeah. I'm waiting. Brian owes me a beer though sometime.
Yeah. You can only bail me out so many times before I have to pay up. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of junior guys, everyone doesn't get to see them all the time. Who are you excited for so far through the season that you've seen, and who's made that next step in development?
Yeah, it's always tough for me to answer these questions because they're all almost like my kids, right? I feel like if I talk about one, I should talk about all of them. So I just talked to Bobby Lowe's for a little bit today. His staff just does such a good job, not just with the first couple of rounds, but just with later rounds. So you guys were just talking about Urbanets. So kid in the later round of this last draft, who's just been excellent for me, is Ben Hemmerly. And Ben plays up in Everett, 6th round pick. Deryk, you played a long time. Sometimes it's hard to get forwards to understand how important it is and how valuable it is to get to the inside, right? And this kid does it all the time naturally. He wants to go to those hard areas of the ice, and then he's got the sense, to make plays. So he's not just a checker. He's got some sense and some savvy to go with it. A kid, at the other end of the draft, who I've just watched for the last 2 days, who we took in the first round, Zach Dean. Boy, I'm not sure if he could have had a better 2-game set for Team Canada. He's trying to make Team Canada for the World Juniors. He's one of the final 18 forwards. He's trying to make that roster. He played good yesterday. He played excellent today. And he's really done a good job of applying things, that our group has asked him to do. To make himself a better player. And so that's been fun to watch. And then I guess I'll give you one in goal too. Jesper Wickman, is not a very good team in Vancouver. Yet anytime they win a game, it seems like he's a big reason why. So that's kind of a quick rundown of a few of those guys at the junior level. I guess if I was going to give you a defenseman who's been playing pretty well and is someone that wasn't drafted is Joe Fleming, right? So now I've kind of given you one late in the draft, middle of the draft with Vickman, and then a first rounder with Dino. Joe Fleming's a kid that came to our development camp this year, just like Braden Pahal, right? Fell through the draft and just did so well at our development camp, just like Pickle did, where he earned an NHL contract. He's in Sherbrooke right now, and he's a fun one to work with. Deryk, you'd really like watching him play. He's kind of a throwback. He grew up watching clips of Scott Stevens. That's what he tries to model his game after, and that's how he hits. Like, he really has those big hits when he catches guys with their head down, which you just don't see a lot anymore. And he's really learned how to manage the game and manage the puck. So there's 4 of them for you.
That's awesome.
With Will Nickel, Director of Player Development. And Will, before we let you go, looking at the 2022 draft class for the VGK, the one player from that draft class playing pro hockey right now is Patrick Gay. He's with the Silver Knights, has spent most of the start of the year with the Savannah Ghost Pirates, which point I asked, he was better than a point per game with Savannah, which is a new addition to the VGK development family. How is the ECHL Savannah franchise, how is that working for player development compared to what you guys were hoping it would be?
Brian, I'm glad that you brought that up, and so I'll answer both. And I'm glad you brought Patty up. I'll bring Patty up first. Let's talk about him first, because sometimes it's not easy for a kid to understand and maybe to trust. That's probably the word, trust the organization with their development. So Patty could have gone back for his last year in the CHL. We felt like it just wasn't the right thing for his development. He scored 55 goals last year. We just kind of felt like, what more did he need to do? Yet, we just weren't sure if he was going to be in the lineup every single night in Henderson. So, you've got Savannah. This is the first time where we've really had that layer. Rick Bennett, is a coach that is under our umbrella. His assistant, Alex Lowe, they're both under they're VGK coaches, right? So they're just like Manny and his staff. They're part of our staff. And it's been huge for this kid and his development. Rick's done a great job of playing him the right minutes, the right situations. He's a power play guy, so he's on the first power play unit. He's good on the kill, so he's using him on the penalty kill. He's used him in all the right situations. He's using them, playing them the right minutes from day one. And so this kid has gotten confidence at the pro level. He's understood what it means to be a pro. I think it's been a great introduction for Patty. But to Patty's credit, when we sat him down and talked to him about it, he was all in. Like, he was all in. There was no hesitation about it. He knew this was a good thing for his development. And he actually has told me a few times when I talked to him, he says, I trust you. I trust you with my development, and he does. So really happy that he's been able to come up. Same with Daniel D'Amato. Peter Dillabatore. I know Corky's coming up now too. I'm always happy for those kids too, because they work, right? And they're down there and they're doing everything they can to get better. And so sometimes it's because of injury. That's part of the game. But when those kids get their chances to come up to Henderson, I'm just as happy as I am for Pahal, Jonas, and Corsi today.
Well, Will, we're glad to hear the pipeline's working as it should. And, you're basically the number one prospects correspondent for Nighttime at Noon, so add that to the resume and appreciate the report. And we're going to see you Wednesday.
I'm the only one, guys, right? So it's, I'm the best one, I'm the worst one, I'm the only one. So it's always fun to talk to you guys. And Deryk, looking forward to catching up with you sometime when I run you at the VGK game.
Me too. Sounds good.
Thanks for calling in, Will. Okay. We really appreciate it. We'll see you Wednesday, and bring us something fun from Moncton while you're at it.
Okay, I'll bring you the cold weather. How about that?
I could use it. Will Nickel, thanks very much. That is Will Nickel, the Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights, with lots of good reports, especially on the recent draft picks that are panning out nicely so far. Most of the members of the draft class last year, wherever they're playing, are at or near a point per game. So far, so good. That includes Matthias Sapovalev, who has 30 points in 30 games for the Saginaw Spirit in the OHL. We'll step out. When we come back, we'll wrap things up on Nighttime at noon, find out what the VGK Alumni Association is up to. We've got our number one correspondent for that on set, and go over some NHL storylines as well. That's straight ahead on Nighttime at noon. Brian McCormack, Deryk Engelland here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. VGK fans, get some fresh air and escape to Rock Creek Cattle Company, located in the heart of Montana. This hidden gem is a 28,000-acre cattle ranch that has amenities catered for the entire family, including a world-class golf course, fly fishing, horseback riding, and more. Exclusive memberships and real estate opportunities are available right now. Visit rockcreekcattlecompany.com. That's rockcreekcattlecompany.com for more information. Wrapping things up, Nighttime at noon. Brian McCormack, Deryk Engelland here with you, and a lot to get through in 5 minutes. I won't do it, but we're going to give it a try. Let's get back to the VGK front. Deryk, the Golden Knights heading out on the road games against first place Winnipeg in the Central, last place Chicago. The road has not been a problem for the Golden Knights at all this season. They are, this season, 12-2-1 away, 8-7-0 at home, which has been a little bit surprising, and Bruce Cassidy spoke about it a little bit. They've had a hard time scoring goals on home ice, and it's kind of hard to put reason as to why, but that's been the struggle of late.
Yeah, I actually just seen something posted today. I forget who posted it, but at home they're like 32nd in goals per 60 minutes, but on the road they're third or something along those lines. So that's a big difference, and you know the shots and the scoring chances aren't much off, but they just got to find a way at home to get it in the net. And missing three of those big guys, that doesn't help anyways, especially against a team like Boston, who is extremely defensive team as well as offensive. So, I think just got to stick with it. I think it'll come and even out as they go.
And Mark Stone did score last night for the VGK, and again, we're far enough into the season now that I don't think we need to be overly under a microscope for Mark Stone. But after being injured as he had been, I mean, this year it's good to see that we've seen largely, especially playing on the inside, we've seen Mark Stone be Mark Stone.
Yeah, you look at the goal last night. He's on the goal line and takes it to the net. He missed some significant time last year, and he's got no fear. He took it to the net around the goalie, and that's the dirty areas. That's where you got to pay the price to score, and he did that, and no hesitation. So it's good to see, and he's I think he's like 22-ish points in 30 games, something like that. So it's not a bad start, especially after missing time, and I think he'll just keep growing as the season goes on.
22 points in 30 games for Mark Stone, right on the nose. They take on a Winnipeg team, first in the Central. They're 10-4-0 at home. They've won 7 of their last 10. That's a tough contest, and for a Winnipeg team that I think I don't know if everyone knew what they were going to be coming into this year, with Rick Bowness coming in as head coach, very, very highly thought of, but they had been, it seemed, courting Barry Trotz all summer, and then it was Rick Bowness. He took the COA from Blake Wheeler. They've been great out of the gate, and they're 18-8-1, and that's going to be a tough building to go into for Vegas.
Yeah, it's good that Vegas is scoring more goals on the road because they're up against Hellebuck, who probably right now is the front runner, I would say, in the Vezina for this year right now early on, and he's the backbone of that team, and they got a good offensive. They're a bigger team. So these guys coming up that are getting into games, it's gonna be a battle. They gotta bring their work boots, and a guy like Pakal, seeing him when we did the color the other night, he hits everything, and it doesn't matter who it is. So that'll be a big factor against a team like that.
You did a heck of a job on color the other night, color commentary for the HSK broadcast for the Lucky launch. That's why I owe you that beer. But as we talk about the many hats you wear, one of them, of course, is the VGK Alumni Association, hosting a poker tournament coming up. Yeah,
tomorrow night at the Legacy Club in Circa. It'll be a closed event, but there's still a few seats available. So if you want to come out and play poker, that'd be great. It's going to go to a great cause. We last week donated some money to Las Vegas Metro Police Department's search and rescue, as well as Discovery Charter School to fund their basketball program for 2 years. And part of the proceeds for the poker event will go to serving our kids, which puts meals on the table for kids during the weekend when they're not at school.
That'd be a terrific effort. Are you dealing in the poker tournament?
I'm playing.
You're playing?
I got to play. Yeah.
Oh,
you got to try to win.
I'm trying to fill these seats. Stop scaring people away.
We got a cool. I don't know how to play poker. I'm just all luck, all in.
All right. Well, in that case, those are the seats to buy.
There you go. Just come sit next to me. You'll probably take all my chips.
The guy who works for the organization does well and doesn't know how to play the game. That's the seat that you want. Well, before we get, we've got about a minute and a half left. So before we rifle through some NHL storylines, Deryk and I never ever get to fan questions because we forget about it until after the fact. Are there any? There are not. Because we answer all the questions. That we preemptively get out in front of them. We answer all the questions. Well, then quickly let's just go through some NHL trends going right now. Mitch Marner, 22-game point streak for the Maple Leafs. How impressive?
Extremely impressive. Still a long ways off of Gretzky's 50 games, but for this time of nowadays, the new hockey, that's a season. That's a career for me almost. 22 games.
It would be a night for a lot of players too. It would be 6 minutes and 2 seconds of ice time, but Jack Hughes did it in a single shift. I heard of Mike Keenan having Alex Kovalev out for a shift like that, but it was a punishment. Jack Hughes' 6-minute shift. Will that ever be topped again?
That'll be tough to top. I had 3.5. I was dying. I played in the D zone the whole time, but 6 minutes that's impressive.
Well, we handled 45 minutes of talking on this show, so well done, Deryk. Appreciate you hanging out this afternoon. Thank you to John Wrobleski, the head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team as well. The Rivalry Series, Thursday night, 7 p.m. at the DLC. Thank you to Director of Player Development, Will Nickel, as well. Nighttime at noon, Brian McCormack, Deryk Engelland here with you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your week, and have a great VGK viewing experience this week.